16 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking this week. The first guy, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. I know last week it was a tough ball game for Justin Tucker. Block kick, and he missed one going 1 for 3 in that game. But this week here, I think he gets back on track. It's a home game here for the Baltimore Ravens. And this Atlanta Falcon defense really isn't that good. So I think the Ravens will have a few opportunities in this ball game to get in the red zone. So I think Justin Tucker will get a few opportunities in this game. We know he's an accurate kicker. And last week was just a fluke versus the Cleveland Browns. So this week, I got him in one. Number 2, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. So over the last month of the season, Evan McPherson's definitely been kicking the football better. And he's a guy that's getting a lot of opportunities. This Cincinnati Bengal team, over the last 5-6 weeks here, is putting up a lot of points. They've won a lot of ball games in the time. And this week here versus a bend but don't break type of defense at the New England Patriots in Gillette Stadium, I think McPherson will get a few opportunities where the Bengals might not punch it in the end zone a few times in the red zone area. So I think McPherson has a good game this week here. I know it could be a tough stadium to kick at, but I got him at 2. Number 3, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. Of the Chiefs, tough ball game last week, believe it or not, having to pull it out in overtime versus the Houston Texans. But Harrison Butker, he's been getting opportunities on one of the most high-powered offenses in the league, obviously. And this week, I think he has another good game versus the Seattle Seahawks, a defense that really don't stop opposing offenses, especially with Jamal Adams, who's been out pretty much the whole season. They're not going to stop the middle of the field, and I think Butker will get a few opportunities in this ball game, and he's a better kicker at home than he is on the road. Number 4, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So right now, could be bad weather conditions at Chicago in the Windy City in this ball game here in Week 16. But Tyler Bass last week, we saw him pretty windy conditions and snowy conditions towards the end of the ball game. He delivered versus the Miami Dolphins in Buffalo. So right now, I don't think the cold weather is going to affect him, obviously. The weather's pretty much cold year-round in Buffalo during the football season. And Tyler Bass, one of the best kickers in the league. So this week, I got him at 4. Number 5, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Daniel Carlson, it's been a great season here for him. And he was obviously on a streak where he hit 46 in a row field goals in a row, and it got broken a few weeks ago. But Daniel Carlson, he's going to get opportunities. The Steeler defense, another defense, but bend but don't break at times here, where you're going to have to settle for field goals. And I know he's on a pretty high-powered offense here, Carlson, with Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, and now Waller back in the lineup. But still, I think this week there's going to be a few opportunities. And he's a guy with a lot of double-digit fantasy point games as well this week, so I definitely could see him hit that mark this week. Number 6, Nick Folk of the New England Patriots. And Nick Folk, he's been around for 15-plus years in the NFL, and he's been one of the better kickers over the last few seasons, once again, with this Patriot team. So this week versus Cincinnati Bengals, I think there'll be opportunities. And believe it or not, I think this will be a close ball game between these two teams, even though I know this Patriot offense has struggled all season. And I know after a loss last week, the way it went down for this Patriot team, it could be tough to recover. But I think anyway, Nick Folk in this ball game is going to get a few opportunities. We know he's been a solid kicker, and I got him at 6. Number 7, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Dicker's come on the scene, and he's been money in the bank for this Los Angeles Charger team. And who's better than him with another indoor ball game at the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football? So Dicker, he's had good accuracy, he's got the strong boot, and this Colt defense, they're vulnerable, obviously. They're giving up points after last week blowing a 33-0 ball game to the Minnesota Vikings, and they stormed back into it. So right now, I think Dicker, the kicker, will have a good game once again with a pretty high-powered offense, and I got him at 7. Number 8, Graham Gano of the New York Giants. So Graham Gano, he's been pretty solid this season here with 8 games with double-digit fantasy points, and he's another guy indoors this week at the Minnesota Vikings, where they're pretty vulnerable to giving up points to field goal kickers. We saw last week with Chase McLaughlin getting 21 fantasy points in Minnesota. So this week, yeah, I think Graham Gano could have a good ball game once again. And this Giant offense, we know, don't punch a lot of balls in the end zone as well. So he's perfect at 8. Number 9, Chase McLaughlin of the Indianapolis Colts. So like I just mentioned last week, 21 fantasy points here for McLaughlin. Now he's home for this Indianapolis Colts team. And I could see a ball game versus the Los Angeles Chargers where they're going to have to settle a few times for field goals. So McLaughlin, he's got a nice boot. He's been an accurate kicker for the most part this season. And now with Jonathan Taylor out as well, this team's going to have even more trouble, I think, find the end zone. And with the quarterback change as well, with Nick Foles in there as the starter, number 10, Michael Badgley of the Detroit Lions. And Michael Badgley last season, he was good with the Indianapolis Colts, but they didn't renew him, and the Detroit Lions picked him up a few weeks ago here, and he's been a pretty solid kicker for this Lion team. And this Lion offense has been playing good football, but this week here on the road, I think once again they're gonna have to settle for a few field goals like they did last week at the Carolina Panthers. So Badgley, you know he's got the boot. We know the accuracy's been pretty good, and he's on an offense that's going to give him opportunities. So I got him at 10, number 11, Greg Joseph of the Minnesota Vikings. So Joseph last week finally got back to putting up good fantasy numbers, and this Viking offense is a lethal offense, no doubt about it. This week, a pretty solid matchup versus the New York Giants, where their defense is hit or miss at times. But I think this week, this Viking team confident after coming back, obviously, from 33-0, that they could do anything. And I think they can get many opportunities in the red zone. And like I said, this Giant defense bent but don't break, but field goal opportunities will be there. So I got him at 11. And the 12th and final kicker I'm ranking this week is Brett Maher of the Dallas Cowboys. So some weeks he gets the opportunities, and then some weeks only extra points here for Brett Maher. So this week here, I think they're going to have to settle versus a Philadelphia Eagle defense for at least 2 or 3 field goals, and they'll get a couple extra points maybe. And this is a true test here for the Dallas Cowboys to see if they could beat the 13-1 Eagles here with no Jalen Hurts or Jalen Hurts. One way or the other, you know, they're going to try to come out here after coming off a horrible loss, blowing a 17-point game and losing in overtime. So right here, Brett Maher, we know he's got a big boot. Accuracy's been a problem in times here for him, but this week versus Philadelphia at home in Dallas, I think he has a decent game, and I got him at 12, so that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking for Week 16 of the fantasy football season.